After a night of Israeli strikes on the Gaza Strip, rescuers have managed to save the life of a 5-year-old boy, his infant brother and his mother. Karim al-Nadim made it out alive after Israeli forces targeted a neighbourhood in Gaza City. Well, he was trapped for hours, as you can see, under rubble. The rubble, of course, of his destroyed family home before finally being rescued. Let's speak to Georgia Tacey now, who's the Gaza Response Director for Save the Children. She joins us live from Deir al-Balah in Gaza. A very warm welcome to you, Georgia. So, firstly, I mean, we've seen these traumatic images of a very, very young child being pulled from the rubble of his own family home. This was meant to be a safe haven for him. Nevertheless, it is, of course, in the midst of a war zone. What kind of psychological and physical impact do caregivers, aid workers and children go through, living in the limbo on 1 minute of a ceasefire, the next the possibility that they will not have any food in front of them for an unlimited amount of time?
Yes, so life has become incredibly precarious and dangerous here in Gaza, particularly for children after this 3-month blockade and the indiscriminate attacks on civilians and aid workers. I only left the country for 3 weeks this month, and the deterioration that I saw in the psychological and physical health of our own staff, let alone the children and the families we serve, was so significant. It was so shocking to see the deterioration of people's spirit, as well as just what the lack of nutrition and the fatigue and the listlessness and the anger and despair that everyone is experiencing. I think that the psychological impacts are often just as bad as the physical impacts. We're seeing a huge spike in malnutrition of both children and pregnant mothers. We're seeing children turn up to our education spaces talking about suicide, that they just want to be with their loved ones and their friends that they have seen killed in front of them. You know, you see families going to the hospital and seeing their children being operated on with hardly any anaesthesia, children waking up during surgery because there's just not enough medical supplies. It's an incredibly desperate situation for children, families, and particularly our team here on the ground who are risking their lives every day, leaving their own children at home to come and serve other vulnerable families.
Given the devastating lack of humanitarian aid and food, what exactly is Save the Children able to continue doing? It must feel like you're operating on empty at the moment.
It does feel like we're all here risking our lives with 2 hands tied behind our backs. You know, our warehouses are now empty, but we are able to offer really critical services like water trucking, giving people their daily domestic water and drinking water. We are able to still continue our nutrition screening and providing supplemental feeding to children with malnutrition. We run child-friendly spaces for children to be around social workers so they can process some of the trauma that they've been experiencing and some of the grief and the loss, and try and just be children in a play space for a couple of hours a day. We run learning spaces for kids who have basically lost 2 years of their education on the back of COVID. And we are able to still run our primary health clinics. So at the moment, we are just running services instead of being able to deliver a lot of the usual aid like food, hygiene kits, shelter kits, because our warehouses are empty and all of our stock is stuck in thousands of trucks on the border with no permission to have them enter Gaza.
Georgia, I wonder how you feel about what's unfolding in Gaza at these aid distribution points. Obviously, Save the Children is a well-established, well-respected organisation. It's obviously has certain ways and means of doing things with highly trained staff on the ground. What we're seeing are people desperate for food, desperate for support, desperate for any aid, finding themselves being shot in the process. This must spark a huge amount of anger and frustration from the humanitarian community.
Absolutely. It's a roller coaster of emotions here, of, like you said, between anger and frustration and despair. We haven't seen this in any other context. I've been working in the sector for 20 years. We haven't seen anything like this before. We know how to do our jobs. We know how to do it well. There's a reason why we can do a water distribution at the same time that GHF are doing their distribution, and people are lining up orderly, they're talking friendly with their neighbour, people are getting their water and leaving. And that's because we know how to do our job. We know how to work with communities. We have long-lasting relationships. We do small distributions. We come back every day. We have trust. People know that we're credible. But when you have only 4 distribution sites instead of the 400 that we're used to working with in terms of the UN and INGO community, people are going to act desperately. And they're humiliated that they're acting this way, and they shouldn't be expected to act politely and trust that these authorities are just going to give them what they deserve. So we understand it was entirely predictable. This system was set up by design to fail. So all we're asking is to open those borders, let us do our jobs. Children cannot unsee what they've seen. They can't unknow what they know now, which is that it appears that human rights are only for children in certain countries and not theirs.
Georgia Tacey, Gaza Response Director for Save the Children. Pleasure to have you on Al Jazeera. Many thanks.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.